Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Monty, one half of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. We're produced out of Indie Music TV in New York. That's Ron Conkema, New York. Yes, again, that's Indie Music TV. You could also catch us on RTF Sports Network. That's RTF Sports Network, the #1 growing streaming sports network on the air today. Catch us every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Yes, we're their anchor show. And catch our rerun on a morning drive time from 10 to 11 a.m. You could also catch us on the Monty and the Pharaoh YouTube page, the Facebook Live Monty and the Pharaoh page, Twitch TV Monty and the Pharaoh page, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, or any streaming network. We're on it. You can find us anywhere. Also catch us on New York Cable, Channel 115, every Tuesday from 8:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Also catch us Saturday mornings on Channel 115 from 6 a.m. to 6:30 a.m. And catch us Saturday morning at 1:30 a.m. on Channel 20. Soon we'll be coming to Amazon, so catch us there also. We want to thank everybody for the support. And again, please catch us every Thursday, 9 p.m. to 10 p.m., Monty the Pharaoh, Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, new, old, endangered, and let's have a little fun. Talk to you soon.
This is Gangrel, the Vampire Warrior, and you're fanging and banging with Monty and the Pharaoh.
Injured is to grow up and be a man. Come on.
All right, welcome back to another episode of Monty the Pharaoh, best special Sunday edition. Sorry, I lost my days.
Ah, well, it is special.
Special ed. We just got done with Billy Jack Haynes, and now we're back with none other than WCW icon, Disco Inferno. Whoops. All right, how are you, brother? How are you?
Glad to have you, man.
And to the left of you is the writer for the Gorilla position, Mr. Jim Phillips.
Oh, Jim.
Brothers, how you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for being here.
Just keep your distance. Jim might be marking out right now.
What? Slight marking out. Well, that's all right. I'm marking out over here, so he's getting it from all areas.
So anyway, thank you for coming on to our show. We greatly appreciate it, both of you gentlemen.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Pharaoh. You're on, my friend.
All right, Disco. Let's start right at the beginning.
You guys you've prepped a lot for this, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Nice.
We are.
I'm very psyched to have you.
Nice.
We are always very prepped.
Yeah.
You know, we take it pretty seriously.
We come prepared.
You guys come out of your own time. You come visit the station.
Well, it's like the podcasting. We don't,
Yes.
Everybody gets on the headsets. We just talk.
You just do
whatever.
your own thing.
Yeah, right. It's like
right.
we don't prep it. So
Right.
This is
we know some things a couple things I want to talk about is pull up on the internet.
Yeah, no, I took a couple hours.
Very professional.
Took a couple hours going over it with Mike, in anticipation of your arrival.
Okay.
So
I don't think you've ever been called professional before.
Me? No. Well, I've been called lots of things.
First for everything.
I'm professional.
All right, go ahead.
Let's just go to the very beginning. What makes Disco Inferno decide to get into pro wrestling?
Just honestly, there's really no big major story other than my soccer coach growing up was friends of our family, still friends of our family for years.
Okay.
Was doing was a travel agent for the NWA back when Ole Anderson was running it and stuff like that. And
that's a nice coincidence.
Yeah. So so when I finished college, the week I was done, I tried out for wrestling. I never looked back. I just tried. He goes, "You want to try out?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Because I was a fan, and I was in shape a little bit, but I knew when I went to the tryout, I was very, very lucky in that there was a lot of things that, like, just from watching on TV and playing around with my friends and stuff, everything that I picked up very quickly. Like, I hit the ropes right the first time. The first time I ever did it. And they were like, wow, that's, so it was...
How about your first bump? How'd that go?
It's all right.
Okay.
I mean, I learned, but I only... this is what I find fascinating, is that, I grew up watching wrestling. I grew up watching... in Atlanta, they had a thing called... Joe Pedicino had this 7 hours of wrestling, 8 o'clock on Saturday nights on Channel 36 in Atlanta. And they would show 7 hours from 7 different parts of the country. AWA, Mid-South, just whatever it was, And so I watched that. I watched
Mid-South Wrestling.
Mid-South Wrestling. They had Watts. They had
That's a great program.
So I watched.
I heard about that. It was a variety.
Yeah, and I watched the WWF.
Sure.
Back then, I watched Tuesday Night Titans.
Sure.
And I watched
Okay.
and I watched NWA Saturday Night. So I was watching.
It's a lot of wrestling,
for probably
Holy
about
shit.
8-9 years of my life. I was watching 13, 14 hours of wrestling every week from all over the
You're a
place.
big
So
fan.
I'm just saying I was a big fan, but when to watch that much. The one thing that I did was like I would usually to watch all that. You got to fast forward through most of the matches just to the finish and stuff, and that's like I'd get the storylines and I'd watch all the interviews and watch the stuff that I would watch story. But when I got into wrestling, this to me is what I find fascinating is that some people either you got it or you don't, right? And like the way today's wrestling, they've like the WWE's built a factory down there, basically the performance center, So it's like, but I trained for 5 weeks twice a week, and I was done. I was 5 weeks to 10 training sessions, and I was ready. I was ready to go wrestle.
So you didn't find training to be too difficult?
No, not at all. Because I picked up the nuances. Like I had a lot of, I could throw a good punch. I picked up a lot of this stuff, and back then. Guys weren't doing dives over the top,
Sure.
So I knew the basics of chain wrestling. I just picked up everything very quickly, and they were like, "You're ready," So I find it strange, and like Terry Taylor, who was like one of my early, he was one of the guys that took me under his wing early on. He never even trained to wrestle.
Really?
They just stuck him in the ring, and he just learned as he goes on, in front of people and stuff.
He was outstanding in the ring.
So it's like. Today, I just find it extremely difficult that if somebody's been training wrestling for a year, and they haven't picked it up yet, I'm like, it ain't going to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like the people that if you love wrestling and you're passionate about it, you should kind of know what to do before you start training, and the training should not take that long.
Sure.
And
basic
stuff
instincts have to count for something.
Basic instincts.
Sure.
And I'm like, I just think maybe I'm an outlier. I mean, I am an outlier, I guess, compared to the thing today. But I just can't believe that some people have to train so long to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm like, wow, that's 2 years. Some of those guys have been in the performance center down there. Like, what are you ever in trouble with?
I think a lot of times they try to force the issue, right? Just like baseball nowadays, they don't really even use agents anymore, right? You have to be 6 foot. You have to have this. You have to have this arm length. I think
it's all metrics,
right? Exactly. So probably in a wrestling,
are they doing that
now,
with wrestling?
I would think so. Like you got to look a certain way. And let's force it. Right?
This is what I find
Statistical
is
like the factory, like he was talking about.
Here's the
drafting positions.
Here's the thing:
Right.
Lex Luger and the Ultimate Warrior are outliers. They didn't really like wrestling when they got into it. They just got into it and like, okay, we can do this.
Let's make some money and go.
Yeah, right. So, but there's just something about what I call is like having your head and your feet together out there in the ring. It's like your whole body, from your head to your feet, need to kind of know what to do because it's difficult. You can get hurt.
Absolutely.
And it's funny that I just see I see some guys they put on TV today, and you see them wrestle. I'm like, this guy's head and his feet are not set straight. He's having trouble out there.
So
he
you
doesn't look natural. These guys look kind of robotic, like they're struggling through their learning process, and they're thinking too much of what they're supposed to be doing as opposed to it's just an instinct. You just go out there and do it.
So you as a professional are actually seeing this where they're being put on television, and some of them aren't even ready.
They're not even close to be ready, and that's like it's fascinating to me that and then I'm watching this and I'm like, just looks like in this but back then is like we call it in the ring. You learn to call it in the ring. You learn to go out there you be the dressing rooms on opposite sides of the arena sometimes. You wouldn't get to talk to the guys, Now we're in the age of everything in wrestling is scripted from top to bottom, from the time you start training to the time you get your pro, everything. You know, and
is this good or bad?
Horrible, because like you can see as a fan, you're watching on TV and you're like
scripted.
You can tell this guy is thinking about what he's supposed to be
Plastic.
saying instead of just right. I call it wood, like acting. Kevin Nash gave me the word. It's called wooden.
Let's go back.
You're wooden. You're just like you're not. You know. So
let's go back to your training. Though. So you had the wrestling down.
Yeah.
How about the stick work? Did you work on a lot of stick work back then too?
That was good. I was decent on the mic.
So did they put a lot of work behind that?
Not really, because I was always cutting. I grew up watching Dusty Rose Piper, Flair.
Did they let you be your own man on the mic? Or did they
no. Back then, you had to.
Right.
Nobody was teaching you how to do promos.
Your promos weren't scripted.
You were this is where your artistic compression came upon. Not in your matches. It was in your your personality and stuff. Everything. You know. So it's like yeah, it was good in the mic. And the one thing I never had any trouble with is when I wrestled in front of a live crowd for the first time. I've never ever been nervous out there. It's weird. It's like the bigger the audience, the more engaged I was. The smaller the audience, it was kind of like
butterflies, huh?
Right. So it's just I picked up training fast, just did it, and then I went through a few gimmicks. Did typical indie crap, and then Raven and I came up. I met Raven, and we came up with a brainstorm. Well, I can come up with a character, and we just kind of like looked at films.
Disco Inferno was formed with Raven, collaboration with Raven. Yes. Interesting, interesting.
Yeah.
Who came up with Disco Inferno? Was it?
Well, Raven had a video of this guy named Dr. Johnny Holiday from Calgary Championship Wrestling, who was doing kind of a disco gimmick. He did it for a very brief period of time. And all he did was go out there, just put a white jacket on,
right,
and just went out there and but that's all he did. His ring entrance, he had a white jacket, and that was the disco character. The rest of the things, he had regular trunks on and everything. So I was like, he's not, the guy wouldn't do it anymore. So I was like, how about the disco? The name was easy, the Disco Inferno, and just like I'll pattern it after the way the Honky Tonk Man works, and that the Honky Tonk Man does his little gimmicks at some point during the match. I'll just do my thing at that point during the match and watch when I'm getting heat and then so it was a very very easy gimmick to do, so.
Since we're on the early days, how about some memories of the pre-WCW days and brief stay in WWE?
No, I was
anything
never
like that. Did you ever have anything?
Nothing. We went to the show. Went to a TV taping with Wrath, who was Adam Bomb back then, who was a friend of mine. So I went to one of the TV tapings with them, but I never
So it never.
No, and
was there ever a close call with Vince? Maybe any interest or anything?
No, well, there was. Yeah, but back when I got fired from WCW, they were like, at the one point. But
how do you get to WCW?
So in the Indies, I was doing a couple of crappy gimmicks. I started doing Disco Inferno. Then I went to Raven got me into Memphis. I went and did it for Lawler's territory for like 5 weeks. I don't think they didn't like the gimmick. They didn't like me. I was green, and I was having I was all right, but I was still an indie guy. Yeah,
learning.
So I quit doing the gimmick. Then we had basically I'd met Paige, and Paige had told me, hey, well, why don't you do the disco character again? Then I met Jake Roberts through Paige. I'd drive Jake Roberts to shows. She would teach me how to work. Then I met Terry Taylor driving to the shows that Jake was going to. Then I met Terry Taylor. And Terry Taylor was working the office at WCW and going back. He's back then he could freelance. So they got me a tryout, and WCW needed to hire me on the spot because I had a good tryout with Chris Canyon.
Nice. So what's the initial payday being signed to?
$1,000 a week. Yeah, but the first pay-per-view I was on, that would go to $85,000. Okay, and if you're on the top 4 matches pay-per-view, it would be $125,000.
Hello.
That's my initial contract. But this is like, man, making $20 a match.
Yeah.
Back then. So I'm like, that's a lot of money back in '95.
The travel is not that bad in WCW either.
Right. So that was my initial contract.
Did you have any aspirations to become a major player in the heavyweight scene? Because ultimately you were put in the cruiserweight division with WCW. Were you disappointed, or were you like, fine, no big deal?
No, I didn't care. No,
you were good no matter what.
Because I was a professional wrestler, meaning that I go out there and get paid to do what they tell me to do. That's the way I've always looked at it.
Tell us some memories of that cruiserweight division. By the way, in WCW during that time period, revolutionary, amazing. Any memories you can share about with working with Eddie Guerrero?
Yeah, he was Eddie's the best guy I've ever been in the ring with.
Really, now?
By far.
Nice.
It's like he's head and shoulders. I would say that Eddie Guerrero is the best performer in-ring performer that there's ever been.
Wow.
And I would say that Ric Flair was the best experience I ever had in a ring. Because it was like...
Flair was good to you behind the scenes? Just curious.
Yeah, always
Excellent.
cool. And Eddie was... and it was funny, too, because we knew these guys were coming in. Because, like, everybody's... they were on ECW. Everybody was talking about, then they're going to, So you started watching them. And then you're watching the Super Juniors in Japan. They were doing that. So it was like the Mexicans, Super Juniors. They were all the smaller guys. But
Had you been watching ECW?
No, I was not on ECW.
But you had heard about these guys going through ECW.
I watched tape, but I was not an ECW fan.
How about Dean Malenko? Any thoughts on Dean?
Unbelievable technician. Just like he's him and Regal and all those guys. They were just like, they could just the way
Were you nervous knowing they were coming in that you'd have to?
Not at all.
You needed to step it up a little bit.
Not at all. I was like, I was eager because I want to do some of this stuff with these guys, and but it was just a great crop of talent. This is still the best ever. They're
amazing.
You talk about like Eddie, Ray, Hoovy, Kidman.
Does Kidman
you go back and watch.
Oh yeah,
the WCW cruiserweight scene,
insane.
Bro. They blow like everybody. Like,
it's on Jericho. I mean, he was part of that too.
Bro, this is what frustrates me more than anything. Okay, in wrestling today is that they're always the wrestling fans and the fan base are kind of like they're very overpraising the product. You know what? I mean, here's what I think it is. I don't think that.
Yeah, we have an issue with that.
I don't think there's an honest narrative in professional wrestling because like. Professional wrestling is not as good as it used to be. That's just a fact. As you can just by the amount of people watching it. Okay, back in our day, it was super hugely ridiculously popular.
Sure,
right? We were, then this is the way I describe it.
Ratings were insane.
Well, just put in perspective. Okay, this is what people don't understand about the ratings. Is that the amount of people that were watching wrestling combined on Monday nights was like 10 million. Like the combined rating was like 10 or like
crazy.
The numbers were very high. That's people watching wrestling on Monday night in that time slot. Cable TV, okay? When Monday Night Football went onto ESPN and went onto cable, that audience was the same.
Yep.
Okay, so we were neck and neck with football.
Yeah.
Okay, popularity-wise. And as like a culture thing. And you've seen the NFL go this way.
I think you're aware, there was one point where the NFL offered Vince McMahon to move Raw from Monday
to stay
night
away
to
from
another
I didn't even
week.
know. I had no idea about that.
Yeah, Vince was feeling it like
that's like I mean because so that's how popular it was, and that's when you put things in perspective.
Amazing.
And like you look at it today, it's like, bro, that's the era that we like. That's how popular we were. And so it's like, so this is what drives me insane, is that everybody keeps talking about how like this. There's never been more talent in professional wrestling, and I'm like. No disrespect to the guys today.
Right,
okay, but back then, I'm like, look, we could get a pop from the crowd by grabbing a guy and punching him,
right?
And he's selling it because it looked real. That it took a bump. I go, what you guys have to do today to get pops from the crowd?
You got to go an extra 15 miles.
It's like you can. That's like.
Right.
How could you sit there and say that? Like, we could do so many more. Like, we were better.
There's so much more with less.
The simplistic, basic skills of professional wrestling are what people do not have today.
Right.
We had those basic skills back then, and we were drawing massive amounts of people. And I'm like trying to say, is there's, I'll profess that math is like, that like everybody said, like everybody's always talking about creatives. I'm like, not. I think it's the way the guys are wrestling over the years compared to the way we used to. That is kind of like wrestling's too busy.
I feel vindicated right
now.
Vindicated. I feel.
Well, I'm just saying, it's just wrestling's gotten very complicated and busy, and all the guys are in the back before their match, going to their match for 2 hours and stuff. And I'm like. Jesus, it's like, and all the fans are doing is chant. They're doing the same chants every match.
Well, we like to chant.
Disco.
This is
awesome.
The match.
And it's like the fans act like seals. It's like it's almost like it's like a computer program.
Do you believe that
they just running the same responses?
Do you believe that the psychological approach to pro wrestling that used to be so great back in the day is dead now?
It's
not. Just so scripted. There's
dead, but it's on life. It's on life support.
Right.
It's not dead.
It's close.
There are some
guys.
Not
feeling well.
The funniest thing about it is you watch guys that get over today and like They're just they're guys like, oh, this guy would have made money back with us back then too. He would have been because he knows the nuances.
The difference in now, it's not must see TV.
I know.
Right?
Doesn't feel
It's
like
at your hands at any
Right.
time you want it. Hey, look, Raw's on. Now I'm going to go eat a pizza. I'll
Yeah.
watch it
Later.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I'll shoot through
Later.
whatever I want to shoot through.
Right.
You know, any
That-
pay-per-view you want to see, you can watch it.
I used to sit there with my dual VCRs back in the Monday Night Wars. I
And
gotta see all of
Monday
this.
Nitro parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are getting together and watching the show, so it's like
Yeah.
so when I sit there and like if you look at it like that way,
Yeah.
that pro wrestling is just like from a television standpoint, like it's like what were you just saying? You just had a point I want to reiterate.
Well, that it's oversaturated.
Oversaturated, right? So it's like
And today's audience has no patience, right?
Attention
here's what I'm talking about. Here's what I'm
Put somebody in an armbar. Here comes the CM Punk
Here's the
chant.
thing:
It's just,
these false narratives we have in wrestling.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh well, there's so many more platforms you can watch it on now. I'm like, I'm sorry, but when Game of Thrones is coming on, the first time it's on, I want to watch it.
Yep.
You know, like
That's
I'm not
it's
waiting.
must see TV.
It's must
Right.
see TV.
Yes.
I ain't
Wrestling,
waiting.
if the
Walking
show
Dead's
is any
on.
good,
Yeah.
that's what you would feel like. I can't wait till Monday at 8:00 because
Yeah.
it's on. It's just then I can't wait till next week. There's nothing like that these days. you know?
I got to tell you the truth. I turn it on. I'm like, I can't wait to fall asleep because that's usually what happens. It's
Yeah.
like I put it on. 20 minutes later, I'm sleeping and I get a good night's rest.
Yeah.
And then I call Farrell. I say what happens, and he gives me the
Farrell
same
fills him
spiel.
in because the Mark sat there for 3 hours.
Well, no,
Miserable.
But here's the thing: it's like people are sitting there saying they always blame it on the creator. They blame the booking creator. I'm like, yeah, but there's still
Well,
wrestling on TV, and people change the channel when the guys are wrestling.
Disco, I
You
hear
know?
that there's 37 writers on today's current WWE staff. Too many cooks in the kitchen or what?
Too many bad cooks in the kitchen.
Okay.
Hey, if you had 37,
How many
right-
cooks were in the kitchen back in the day?
Three
So,
to five.
okay.
I challenge
But
you.
there's 3 to 5
I'm
guys
gonna-
that had a bunch of ideas.
Right.
I'm
Good
going to
ones.
challenge,
Good ones.
challenge you with this question.
Okay.
So
Ooh.
yesterday, Scott Hall was in. Scott Hall discussed how he changed the face of wrestling, which he did.
Yeah.
He like
Sure.
I lost the name, but I could compare him to the free agents.
Kurt Flood.
Kurt Flood of wrestling.
Sure.
Right. He got guys guaranteed contracts,
did.
everything else.
Yep.
Is it fair to say for what Scott Hall did for the industry, he also destroyed the industry too?
How?
Well, you don't have to work as hard.
Nowadays.
You're telling me that these wrestlers aren't performing to the level to keep anyone's attention.
No. It's not like they're not working hard. They're just working wrong.
Okay.
They're
just like-
physically working really hard, I would assume, with all these crazy bumps and flips.
physically.
Right,
So
Physically. So there's a lot of physical things that you're doing.
When you used to
instead
go
of-
to a house show, no matter wherever you were on a card, you got paid a certain amount of money for the house show, correct?
Right.
These wrestlers now, they go to a house show. My belief is they get paid guaranteed money regardless what happened. Back in the WCW days, they didn't care who came to the arena. They got their money. It didn't matter. You even said to yourself, a smaller crowd, less effort, bigger crowd, bigger effort, right?
Yeah, but I mean, if you listen to the crowd, because the crowd was popping. You know what I'm saying? So you say you go. I mean, you're not. I don't think it has anything to do with
You think the guaranteed money's made him lazy? Is that what you're saying?
No, I don't think.
I
I
don't
don't
think
think
because
anybody.
that's an unfair.
Yeah.
Right. I
but
wouldn't say
no, it's
that.
not
I would say this is like you watch. Like I've been on shows, right? Where is it? The thing today is like everybody's like, you know, if you're talking about lazy, like everybody thinks work rate is very important. You know, everybody's got to be good. You know, they're doing a lot of stuff. You're working hard and stuff. But I've been on shows, and this is where the narratives get all screwed. You know, like who's a good worker? This guy's a great worker. Oh, this guy's the best. I've been on shows where great workers went out there for 20 minutes and just did everything in the book, and the crowd just did nothing.
Nothing.
The two more guys go out there, try to do everything in book. Crowd's nothing. The crowd's dead. You know, all of a sudden, fourth match in the show, Jim Duggan comes out, and the crowd and the place just the fans just start coming, and they're going crazy and they're popping for everything, right? And I'm like, you guys sit there and talk about what you think, like people think good workers are anything. I go, there's a lot of nights that Jim Duggan was the best guy on the card because he's the only guy that went out there and got the pop.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And he didn't do a lot.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like your perception of what you think guys should be doing to get reactions from fans is not universal amongst all the fans.
Right.
There's certain things that fans like that
Right.
other people don't like. So just ultimately what it all comes down to is who gets the biggest and best pops every night.
Are they
You know what I'm saying?
responding to
And
you?
what are
Sure.
they doing?
Sure.
Because some of them aren't doing much. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and to me, it's like I
Some of
look
them
at
don't
I
have
look
to.
at it from that prism, and I'm like, what is so difficult here?
Right.
You know, it's like we're
Right.
trying to reinvent the wheel. We're trying to
Right.
make it so complicated. We're trying to, like, the simplicity of professional
Look
wrestling.
at Goldberg.
The simplicity of this has always been the bread and butter of the business.
I believe that.
We're the fans. Guys are cutting promos, talk about wanting to fight each other. You think it's going to be a fight. They go out and they're knocking each other around and stuff and everything, and it gets reaction. These days, it's like it's a performance. The guys are art.
spots.
It's like, you know, and my whole thing is like, okay, if that's what this is, how do I write promos for guys?
Right.
If that's what you're going to go out there and do.
Right.
You know, say how do I write a
Right.
promo for? It's not. It's an exhibition. It's art. Well, how do I promote that?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the place where I think wrestling has pigeonholed itself right now, and it's in a hole that like and every the people that like it, and they like it with a lot of fervor. You know, because this fan base, as they've gotten very smart, as the internet is fed
Little
them
too
everything.
smart, but
that's
go
what I'm saying.
on.
But it's developed a crowd of like, you know, like
How do you
like
sus-
here's the thing: you're not going to fill a stadium with fantasy football fans.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not going to fill a stadium with fans. You need some die-hard fans in
I
the
don't want to fill the
building. You know what I'm
stadiums
saying?
of people playing video
Watching
games.
video games.
It's like,
That's so sure.
yeah, but it's competition, though.
Holy
I guess.
It's competition, so yeah.
No,
Right.
I guess. Look, social media is very important in every type of business now. I personally almost feel they need the social media, but
Oy.
you know they got to bring some kind of kayfabe back because you know
I
agree.
can't.
you got to suspend disbelief that I hate you,
Well, it's-
but then I see you eating donuts on Twitter. It's like
we could go. I mean, we could do a whole
terrible.
show on this, but the thing is the erosion of the suspension disbelief over the years.
Right.
And we're at a point right now where there literally is no suspension disbelief, maybe just a little bit with Brock. You know, or
Certain people. Certain
there's
people.
a couple like but it's like overall.
because Brock makes you feel like he hates you, no matter what. He hates everybody.
Well, he's like Brock comes across as a
Intangibility. You
legitimate
just don't know
badass.
what he's
Or
going
he
to
could
do.
go off, and
Yeah.
if he's pummeling the guy, and the guy, I think this is ultimately what people want to see in Brock Lesnar. Okay, is they want to see Brock Lesnar throwing a guy all over the place, and the guy get pissed off and shoot on him, and see what Brock does to the guy.
Brock
I think
destroy him.
that's ultimately in the fans'
Yeah.
mind. Like when they're watching him wrestle, that's what they are.
Yeah.
The anticipation. You know what I'm saying? So, you know,
It's like watching a NASCAR race.
right.
They're waiting for the wreck.
Wait.
I'm
for the
going to
wreck,
give you
you
two
know?
things. We speak about this. The Stone Cold what we felt destroyed
Yeah.
wrestling
Yeah.
in a certain way.
You know what? That's you know what? If I ever talk to Steve
one last
Austin,
thing, because I got two things for you.
Okay.
The what, and then Hall and Nash, Michaels, X-Pac.
The hug at
The
Madison
whole
Square Garden when
breaking
kayfabe went
It was
kaboom.
good for the moment, but it
I
ultimately
miss the days before
ultimately
kayfabe was obliterated.
It both
Amen.
have
Honestly.
ruined the sport to a certain level.
okay, I'll agree with the first one with Austin because that's the worst. That's the one bad. You know when you have
What?
the positive
Like
check
a
and
virus.
checks the
Yeah.
X mark on Steve Austin's resume is bringing that what chant in. But I don't think he knew that it would that people just hijacked it. Who would have known that social media would generate a fan base at live shows of trolls? Of people that just want to just troll the show
You
and
ain't
just
kidding.
say, but
Oh my God.
I mean, we didn't know this.
Landslide.
You know?
Yep.
So, but I will say this: the curtain call. I would agree with you if the curtain call was in 2001 and the ratings had gone down since
I
then. But
understand that.
when we saw a tremendous boom after the curtain call.
But as
So
a
it's like,
lifelong fan, as you said you were, from a kid growing up and loving wrestling, weren't you just a little disappointed that the curtain had been pulled down? I mean, to me, I'm not a wrestler, okay? But growing up, I loved the fact that, hey, this could be real. I loved that.
I wish they
and I
didn't-
almost was disappointed to see it
I
obliterated.
wish they
That's just
didn't.
me.
I wish they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but they did it at a time when
Right.
the internet wasn't out there that much.
No. True.
The Wrestling Observer
True.
people knew what they did. The
True.
crowd at the Garden knew what they
True.
did.
I mean, it's a great moment.
The guys
I'm not
in
saying
business
that,
knew what
but-
they did, but it's like I don't think people
Yeah.
in Albuquerque, New Mexico, knew that they did that.
Right.
You
That's
know what I'm
true.
saying? So it's
That's
like I
true,
mean,
too.
so I don't think it. Like I said, if it would have been done during a different time, it probably would have accelerated and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there's things. I mean, you want to fast forward. You know, there's things that wrestlers have done, like you could give them like we give them a pass these days.
Yeah.
You know, Kenny Omega's like the best guy in the business right now, is a bit that people say, but he wrestled a 9-year-old girl. And everybody knows he did, you know, so in front of people. So it's like, same.
And they love him.
So we subjectively decide what, you know what I'm saying? So it's all in the
WWE is like the hated child. No matter what they do, it's wrong.
For sure.
But, you know,
they're the
Joey
Yankees.
Ryan can run around and beat you up with his penis, and that's all. That's all.
Oh, Yankees,
exactly.
And, you know, we talked about the last
I get it.
AEW event. And look, not trying to be insulting here, okay? But they put a handicapped person in a battle royal,
Bro,
and to me,
not a fan.
I wasn't happy with it.
And the winner gets to fight for the championship.
Yes.
So I'll tell you what, bro. You guys,
he just hammered it
no,
home.
No.
I'm outraged.
Let me tell you this. I didn't see the show. I saw clips.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But this AEW fan base is becoming a very annoying bunch of people.
Really?
Okay.
Do tell.
So it's like, you know.
Do tell.
Just like the
Man,
New
I love this guy. I love this guy.
Well, they're like.
Can we be best
They're
friends?
like the new.
I think we are. What are you talking
They're
about?
kind of like taking that. It's that New Japan crowd.
Yeah.
Where
Which is a great company, by the way. I do
we're
enjoy
saying
it.
what we're doing is the greatest thing ever, and if you disagree with us, you're a terrible,
you're an idiot.
detestable person.
Yeah,
a moron.
you're an idiot. What are you
okay,
thinking?
Like, wait a second, you know. So,
it's
this
a little
AEW
extreme.
crowd,
Okay.
they're kind of like that,
Right.
You know. And
Right.
the funniest, I don't know if you guys have seen this, okay, or heard this,
Okay.
but I literally laughed out loud probably 30 times in an hour and 10-minute period. You've got to listen to Cornette's review of Double or Nothing.
Oh, he's the
Did you hear it
He's
yet?
the funniest.
Starts at the 20-minute mark of the show.
And he goes
just got
ballistic?
you just got. I mean,
I'm gonna
every fair criticism of the show.
He's funny.
He's spot on.
He's razor
And
sharp.
every fair thing that was good in the show, it's a very honest
sure he
and
is.
very good criticism. That of course people are going to look at him. Oh, he's just. It's like no, he's.
Right,
I mean,
right.
he's really talking. He's saying makes complete sense. But here's the problem with the AEW, and this is like because everybody's like, you know, like this is why this fan base is so annoying. We're changing the world. We're this, we're that. I'm like, wait a second. You got to push the brakes on this. You're entering a market right now which is not ripe with people watching wrestling. It's like, you know, I mean, they're entering the televised market. We judge the televised market by Raw. Mm-hmm. You know, and the Raw rating is not good.
Right. There's
So
a
it's like,
fan
so
base, but it hasn't. It's not transcending like it did back in the day.
where are we going to get people to watch our weekly television show? You know,
right.
But Cornette had a great point. Like, you know, that I haven't seen the show yet, but this is kind of like, you know, like the New Japan crowd, bro. The crowd, the entire crowd, 98% of the crowd, 25 to 35-year-old males, no kids and no girls. Okay, and that's so these are the people right now that are telling you
they're telling
we're
us.
going to change.
They're not telling us.
I'm like, guys, you got some serious
They're not
marketing
politely suggesting.
issues.
They're telling us.
First of all, they're the minority.
Right.
The WWE
that's
is
true.
clearly playing to the next group of younger people who are
they
going to
are.
start to enjoy wrestling.
They are.
They don't care about
Hence
a
the New Day
50-year-old
t-shirts.
guy or a
Well, they
40-year-old
need
guy.
to.
No
They need. Let me tell you why
They do need us.
Let me tell you
I
why they
agree.
need to. This is
They
where
do need us.
WWE is failing.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the most fascinating
Lay it on
number.
us.
If you want metrics, this is the most fascinating metric that you'll hear. This is what's happened to wrestling. And to me, I'm a metrics guy. I play fantasy sports and stuff. I'm fantasy football. DFS, and I'm really I like numbers. I like playing with numbers, right?
Yeah, beautiful.
Sure.
This is all the number you need to know. Okay, in 2001, the median age of the professional wrestling fan, that's the median age. So the people that don't know median, that's the middle. Half the people on this side, half the people on this side. The median age of professional wrestling is 27 years old.
I believe it.
What do you think it is now?
It's 40-something. I think it's 46 last time I looked. 52?
It's 52.
Okay.
52. Okay? So your median age in 19 years has shifted to 25 years. So I'm sitting there looking
That's
like,
messed up.
wow, you're not really getting new fans. I go, literally, your fan base is dying.
But see,
okay, you know, so because
but you're playing into what I just said to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
They understand that the 52-year-old is their fan. They need... These 52-year-olds are going to be dead.
But that's
so guess what?
Can we
need
slow
to
down?
now inject
I got at
it
least
into
a
the
couple
younger
of
But that's my
decades.
point,
What
though.
is
But that's why I disagree with you, because they haven't.
Right.
Like if that's what they're trying to do, that ain't working.
But we do see
because
kids.
it's like this number is still.
But we do see kids in the WWE audience. We do.
Right, we do. We see kids. Okay, so it's like we see girls
with their
but
New
not
Day
very
cereal. And
Here's the thing: wrestling, the product today is there's not as much sex appeal as it used to be.
There's none.
Okay, to where like these fans can't. You're not having a product that you can take your girlfriend to. Mm-hmm. She's look at this. She don't want to watch matches and rate the matches and stuff. You know, seriously. They don't.
Well, honey, was that a 3.5 or a 4-star match?
Kids don't.
It's a different audience, though. You're
Right.
talking about a group of people that will fill Madison Square Garden to watch people play video games. And you'll be. I guarantee your metrics would probably be with the NFL, baseball. Everything. The athletics it's starting to slip away. We're into this computerized technology.
I am wondering about it. It seems like all the major sports, their ratings are dropping. I don't know if society.
I
wonder.
Some of them are, but some of you can just feel why they're dropping though sometimes because the product isn't. TV is a star-driven business.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like this year's NBA playoffs, it just felt. Jesus, we've gone 2 months now. LeBron wasn't in these.
That's right.
You know, it's like
I bet you asked 10 people.
Like, there's not as much because every day on ESPN they're following LeBron's journey through the day. Like, wow, we just missed all. You know, so sports is star driven.
But we also spoke about that Vince with the WWE decided at some point. I don't know, Vince, Triple H, whoever, it doesn't matter. Said, I'm not making stars anymore. The company will be the star. There'll be no one bigger than this company. Because
where is John Cena's replacement? Where's the next?
Here's the thing. This is what I'll say, is that is you need that next. You need to find those guys, right? Okay, but they're not there. Okay, and I think Vince McMahon, he's kind of as he's gotten older, he's getting out of touch with culture. Like what's up?
Sure feels like it.
Right?
It feels like it.
Ultimately, is like Vince doesn't feel there's that guy in his roster either, which is why we haven't seen anybody treated like that.
That's why I keep getting Lesnar.
Okay, that's right. So that's why they keep keeping Lesnar,
bringing in old guys.
So it's like the guys that Vince feels could be the next guy. This is a 73-year-old man, and everything. He's ignored that. Like on this culture day. Bro, your fans are detesting these people that you're trying to push into these spots.
Did Vince McMahon make a mistake regarding CM Punk?
I'll say this, is that Punk was great for this fan base. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
For this fan base.
Yes.
But Punk wasn't going to get you one... Here's the math. This is what people don't realize. Is you like CM Punk. I love wrestling. Punk and everything. You know what? You're not even including in the math the amount of people that look at that guy and say, like, he looks like my refrigerator.
Thank you.
And we're turning the
That's
show.
him. I love Punk personally,
here's
but
the thing. You don't hear the voices of the people that quit watching.
That's right.
They're like they like disappear. The Homer Simpson thing where they disappear into the bushes. They're gone. So all you hear are the fans that are watching the product.
Lost sales. You don't know about lost sales.
You don't know about lost
sales.
sales.
How about the staying power though? Years later, they're still chanting this man's name
because it's for the fans. There's just a collection. It's not. Here's the thing people don't realize. It's like we try to extrapolate, like the it doesn't take a lot of fans to start a chant at a show.
That is for sure. That is for
6 or 7 guys can just start doing it. Next thing you know, you got 5,000 people.
Yeah, the herd chimes in.
All you need at the show, and each live show has this, and this is why it's so difficult at WWE today, and like to write TV, is that when the trolls show up, you're writing television. You have no clue how the fans are going to react to the stuff that you ever get a visual picture of the fan response and a collection of fans that we're going to shit on this and they ruin it.
So you had a great point. It's like, so Vince has kind of lost touch. So he keeps trying to force things down their throats. But then when he finally gives in and puts a guy like Kofi Kingston, puts a strap on Kofi Kingston, doesn't work either. The fans wanted it. They wanted it, and nothing went about it.
I look at Punk as much more,
here's the problem.
Kofi.
Way more believable than Kofi.
Hey, these fans don't know what needs to be done to draw money in wrestling, and Vince doesn't either. Okay, this is what we have. We have two competing entities that argue with each other, but neither of them has the right formula. So it's like you've got a fight going on, and it's like both boxers have one hand tied behind their back. You know, they're trying to, and that's what you're looking at right now because neither of them has a clue what needs to be done. Everybody has ideas. But the only idea you're getting is the one that Vince McMahon likes.
They're so high on their own ideas, they don't want to hear anybody.
You have writing experience. What would Disco Inferno do to fix today's WWE product?
Oh God, this is.
I know it's a long answer probably.
Here's the one thing I would do. Okay, I would, and to me, it's not. I don't think the writing is a major part of the problem.
Really?
I honestly, I think that I'll tell you what. And this is the first thing I would change. Okay, number one. All right, go back to when we're wrestling in matches to throwing punches. Okay, these forearms look ridiculous. They look silly.
Slapping.
Nobody sells it. It looks fake, and everybody's doing it, and it's not safe. You screw one up. You're concussing a guy. Okay, it looks and nobody sells. Okay, go back to throwing punches.
Right,
and go back to simulating let's look like we're fighting in there.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
How about when you hit someone's finisher?
They stay down.
They
get pinned. And everybody's like, bro. The funniest thing is the psychology of matches is today.
Gone.
Here's the psychology of matches. Yeah. Nothing hurts.
Yes.
Right. Yes.
Okay. How can I buy into this?
Right. Every match.
Right.
Nothing hurts.
Right.
Because we're kicking out of literally everything. Okay. Mm-hmm. Get back to the simplicity of professional wrestling, and when you're back to the simplicity of professional wrestling, then your character. You have to portray your character to the people more.
Would Disco take the handcuffs off the wrestlers regarding their promos? Can they do their own? Can they be their own men?
Here's the thing. The perfect example. When I went back and did the Impact stuff, okay? Jimmy Jacobs is one of the writers there, okay? And he came from WWE, so I was just under the assumption that this guy's probably he's probably one of those crappy WWE writers, right? So they'd given me some stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And there was good lines, and hey, I like that.
Okay,
all right, let me go do that and go there. And so he wrote it for me. I like this. Let me do. It worked. Right. If he'd given me stuff I didn't like, I would say, "What about this?" Okay. So you've got writers that write some good stuff. Okay, those are the writers that you need to focus on. Okay, the writers that when a wrestler goes out there and he's been given written material and his promo stinks, it's like. Either the wrestler just is not confident enough in his own ability that he went out there and made himself and let himself look like a schmuck by saying it, as opposed to say, "Hey, what about this?" Okay, or the writer basically just that's not a good writer.
Or
okay, so it's like what I'm saying is there's a good wrestling has always been a collection of ideas.
Yeah, but couldn't the point be that the wrestler says, "I'm getting paid. Give me what you want, and I'll do it. As long as I have a paycheck,
do they even?
I don't care.
They don't. Let me be honest with you. Okay, you look at some of these guys in WWE is you can count the amount of good promos in the past 6 months of TV on 5 fingers.
Sad but true.
So my whole thing is what if we're just in an era of guys? Here's the problem: we're in an era. Where guys just as they were coming up in professional wrestling just concentrated so much on work and stuff and everything, never really concentrated on in front of the mirror cutting promos.
So what's more important?
So we have an era of guys that just go out there and just are doing all this, and then when it's time to stop and talk, they don't really know what to say.
So what's more important? Mike or Matt?
But the mic. It's the most common sense. I'll tell people this. This is the most simplistic formula in professional wrestling. Okay, a 5-star match has never, ever in the history of professional wrestling drawn a dime. It never has. You know why? Because all the dimes were drawn before the matches took place. Okay? They got what you did before the match, got the money for people to go over. Now here's your match.
Right.
Okay? So it's like the 5-star match, unless they're paying when the show's over, they don't say, but the matches the dimes have been drawn before the match takes place. So you tell me what's the most important thing: the actual match or drawing the dimes.
The build.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. It says the spoken, which is why look at Dusty Rhodes.
Okay.
You think Dusty Rhodes would have been anything in this day and age of press? Bro, they would have ran out of the bit. Oh, he can't do nothing.
Dude, we talk about it all the time. We used to see Morocco Backlund.
Yeah.
And they would spend a lot of times in an armbar. One of the greatest matches that I've ever seen. Yeah. They would get booed out of the building.
Yeah.
Right now.
You would get booed out of the building.
I honestly think that style back. But here's the thing: styles change over the course as the suspension disbelief erodes. You know what I'm saying? So it's like back then, 80% of the crowd thought it was real.
Yeah.
Right.
Let's go forward to the Attitude Era. 30% of the crowd thought it was real, but but they're kind of.
But wait a minute, in the Attitude Era, though,
even though I knew it was fake,
they did stuff that goes, wait a minute, is this real?
But it doesn't matter. The emphasis was on characters, and the things they did on the show, and over the top. That's what
I want Jim to get a question in, but I got one question I'd like you to answer. Who killed WCW? Russo, Bischoff, Hogan, Nash.
All of the above?
No, nobody.
Nobody killed it?
Listen, here's the thing. The executives at Time Warner want to get rid of it, okay?
Time Warner
they
killed
were just looking for a spot to do it. They would have done it even if it would have been successful. But
really?
But it shows you right now, this is what I would have said, but back in 2000, 2001, if you would have told those guys at Time Warner, hey, we can do a 1.5 rating and still be a profitable business in 18 years from now.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're like, well, why would we get rid of this? You know? So which is why maybe they're getting back into it.
Right.
Is they're looking at Vince McMahon. It's like, Jesus, the ratings stink, but
he's making
still making money.
Right. So they're like saying like, hey, all right, this is good enough for programming for us, and everything. But this whole thing of the wrestling's going through another boom period. It's like, not until there's a lot of things you got to change. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of old school principles that people can't just discard.
Yeah.
That we need to bring back. And you people think it's like, wait a second, you need to draw ratings. You need to get, if you want a boom period, you got to get those people that like the stuff that like the stuff that you're not doing, out there. So it's like,
strange as it may sound to some of his haters, do you think the business could use another Vince Russo?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Let me tell you, this is the biggest thing. I've worked with Vince, okay? And I'll say this, everybody that tries to bury Vince,
they do.
His whole theory was...
I kind of like him.
His whole theory of writing is, we're just trying to get as many people to watch the show as possible.
Yeah,
so I'm going to have to sacrifice to some of my hardcore fans. I'm going to have to do some stuff that might get this collection of people to watch. You know what I'm saying? That's all it is, right? But the one thing I'd like the people try to discount Russo, but just go watch a Vince Russo show and watch a show today. Watch the pre-tapes because Vince is producing most of the pre-tapes, and you watch the pre-tapes back then and you watch it now, and it's like, well, what are you going to do? I mean, this guy's like, he's not. He's writing their promos, but he's letting them change and stuff. But you just look at the promos when Vince was in charge, and look at promos back when guys are in charge, and it's night and day.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you can sit there and bury the guy, but I've worked with the guy. I know how he works. And the thing is, there's a collection of people that have driven this narrative, the Vince Russo and anything, and they have readers and followers, so they create a base of people that have said the same. But most of the people that have worked with Vince knows what he does because he's produced these guys. And they know how the effort he puts into trying to produce them and help and trying to get them over.
Did you ever get to meet Vince McMahon? Just curious.
No,
have you
never
come across him?
Okay.
Glenn, fan Andy Nichols asked,
what's up, Andy?
Can you address your involvement in the Impact Knockouts division?
Nice.
Can I address it? Yeah. This is what I find fascinating about pro wrestling is that it's very, to me, this fan base, okay, is as easy to trigger as any fan base has ever been.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
And all you have to do, okay, is just maintain part of what people think is really you, okay, on social media, so they think that they see enough of things you say and stuff to think like, oh, that's what he's real. That's what really this guy is.
They draw a conclusion.
This is funny too. All the one thing here's the one thing to get people to hate you. Okay, get fans to just despise you.
Notes, man. Go on.
Just put a couple tweets out talk about how Trump's doing a good job.
Oh no, I'm not.
Jim, we
got.
I'm not touching that. Trust me. Listen to this.
I refuse.
Tweet that. Go! But here's the thing: tweet that. Right. And you watch the responses.
Oh my God!
People think you're like a horrible person for it's okay. So I'm like, okay,
Disco, you're a horrible person.
But here's the thing, that's perfect.
Right.
Because if I'm gonna be a heel,
that's
all right,
true.
I've gotten under some people.
That's true. The king of heels.
Some people that
that's
come
true.
to the show, my Twitter follow, they personally don't like me because they think I'm horrible. So as I've done the Impact stuff, it should have been so simple to get response from the crowd.
Right.
It's been so easy to get heat, and I just can't believe that a lot of wrestlers today don't realize how easy it is.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
You have to maintain your persona.
Yeah.
If you're going to be on TV, You can't compromise yourself and show pictures of you. You can't be tweeting. Picture of you and your mom on Mother's Day having a great time. Yeah. You can't talk about you and your opponents are hugging each other. You can't do that. Yeah. You can't do that. You have to just have people, because your presence is all over the place. You have to kind of stay sort of in character almost all the time if you want to do this.
Glenn, I got 1 minute. Jim, make it a good question, and don't ask him where he had his underwear made. All right?
Would you please?
What do you got? What do you got for Glenn?
Okay, so let's talk ribs.
Okay.
Best rib you've ever seen anybody pulled, or funniest rib you've seen, been a part of, anything like that? Rib stories.
Well, the rib stories always just go straight to Kurt Hennig.
Yes.
Because Kurt Hennig was the guy. He was always the guy that was pulling the ribs, but he would be the guy that he'd do the rib, and then he'd be the guy's like, hey, we got a perfect example. Kidman's pants went missing one day. All right,
that's a problem.
Kurt Hennig's like, hey guys, we got to find Kidman's pants. Let's go find Kidman. Anybody seen Kidman's pants? We're like, all right, Kurt, we get it. You his pants. But he was like, all those guys like the Nasty Boys and Hennig and all those guys, they were like that.
They were searching
they
high
would
and
do
low
the ribs,
for those pants.
But then they'd sell we're so concerned about it was and it was so obvious.
So where were the pants? Where were they?
I don't know. But Kidman had the blue things in it. So one day he had to go with black. They had to take some black jeans and cut them and put it in. So he had to go.
So did you ever see a rib where you were like, "That's wrong"? Did you ever see him taking advantage of someone?
I thought that was.
Well, I mean, like,
yeah. I mean, come on.
I've heard a lot of Fuji rib stories.
Like,
that's
really
bad.
But
look, we want to thank you for joining our show.
Absolutely.
This was an incredible interview, and look, we're best friends now. Thank you.
We are.
We feel better. All right, this has been another episode of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. Eric, you want to jump in 2 seconds because I got to get the Evan Ginsberg show on, and I'm already over time.
All right, it's no BS. It's your cult hero. It's ESS. And one more stop on the tour, the world famous ESS tour this weekend, and we're going to be at the Wrestling Universe from 3 to 5 today. That's over in Queens, New York, and Disco's going to be there, and Billy Jack and a bunch of other great superstars are going to be there. And anybody that knows where the Wrestling Universe is in Queens, New York, go there, because it's a good time, and Jack's a great guy, and
beautiful.
For all the updates on ESS and who's coming in, www.esspromotions.com. And remember, no BS with ESS.
Nice.
All right, I want to thank Eric Sims, Jim Phillips from the Gorilla Position. Catches articles every week. Incredible writer.
Great.
And most importantly, I want to thank Disco Inferno for coming on the Monty and the Pharaoh show. We'll catch you next Thursday from 8:05 to 9 p.m. From me and the Pharaoh. Have a good day.
Later.
Peace.